the most important thing is to start. So put that idea out there. If you're thinking about it, guess what? Somebody else is thinking about it, and somebody needs it.
All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode of the Bigger Than Food podcast. I'm your host, Apollo Woods, and I say this every time we have a podcast. We have an amazing entrepreneur doing great things here in Oklahoma City. We have Stayce, who is the owner and the lead and owner and chef of Plus254 Taste of Africa here in downtown Oklahoma City. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. So it's a little distracting to do this today because in my head, I'm already thinking about the food that you're making. I'm already thinking about the samosas. You posted that video on IG stories. You made 3,000 samosas for a catering order. That's a lot.
Yes, actually, it was over 3,000.
It was over 3,000 samosas that you made for one catering order.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Before we get into the food, like we do here, we talk more about the person and who they are, which is reflective of what you do. So for the people who don't know you, who are you? How would you describe who Stayce is?
Okay, so my name is Stayce Momanyi. I'm originally from Kenya, born and raised in Kenya, moved to the United States in 2010. I came here for school. And I graduated with a minor in accounting, and my major was in organizational leadership. So nothing concerning food at all. Okay. That's what I went to for school. So, and currently I'm the owner and chef at Plus254 Taste of Africa. I'm also a wife and a mother to an amazing 5-year-old and an almost 4-year-old daughter.
Okay. So I just talked about you doing all of this amazing food, wife, mother, business owner. You dabble in clothes and retail.
Yes.
So I don't know how you do it all, but we'll get to that here in a second. What I'm curious about is before you came to United States for school in 2010.
Yes.
So this was 14 years ago, right?
Yes.
And so what was it like? Because the people have these ideas of what it is like growing up in Africa. And I always like to understand it from the perspective of the person who grew up in Africa, who's came to America and preserving your culture, right? So how would you describe growing up in Kenya? Well, where specifically are you from in Kenya? And I'm gonna pull a Black Panther part of it. Where are you from in Kenya, and what tribe are you from?
Okay, so in Kenya, I come from the Luo tribe, which is the Nyanza part of Kenya. But I was born and raised in Nairobi, which is the capital city of Kenya. So my life in Kenya was very interesting because I'm raised by a single mother who was very hardworking and had to travel so much for work. So my extended family helped raise me. And I also went to boarding school at the age of 10 years old. So because my mom had to travel a lot for work, she preferred to take me for boarding school. That way I was not moving around a lot. So I went to boarding school at the age of 10 for my elementary, which in Africa is considered primary school. Then when I finished, I also went to boarding school for high school. And as I graduated from high school in 2007.
So how, I talked to someone else and then they started going to school at the age of 2. So how young? So how was it? Is it the same way? Was it the same for you? Did you start your primary or your elementary school education at a young age?
Yes. So I also started school at the age of 2, which was baby class, almost like a play school. Because while I was that young, we really didn't have like daycare structure kind of thing. But play school would probably just be considered like baby class would just be considered like daycare. So yes, I started going school at the age of 2, but I started my primary school at the age of 6.
Okay. So from 6 years old until what age? When did you start high school?
I started high school when I was 13.
Okay. I mean, But well, no, I think I was 15, no, 14 when I started high school. So it's about the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about the same. I guess the idea that I had talking to someone else and they were describing, I guess the education part of Africa starts earlier and
Mm-hmm.
they graduated earlier. So what age did you graduate high school?
So I graduated high school when I was 17 years old.
Okay, so very similar. Very similar. Okay. So maybe each, depending on where you are, it's a little bit different. But you graduated high school.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you talked about being raised with a single mom. Mom travels.
Mm-hmm.
So when mom is traveling and you're staying with different relatives or whatnot, I'm curious to understand, where did this desire to cook come into play? After all the things you mentioned in the beginning of the interview, where did this desire for cooking come into play?
So the desire for cooking came into play after I moved here in the United States, because growing up, I can count in my one hand how many times I cook, because my mom really loved to cook. I watched her cook. Probably that's where I learned from, because I was always in the kitchen doing the prep work for her. But she's mainly the one who used to cook, and she was really passionate about it. And as I said, it was always just me and her, because I'm an only child. Sometimes she'd cook and I'd be like, "Mom, are we having guests over?" And she's like, "No, this is for us," because she would cook and set up the table and all that. So I think that's what inspired me. But after I moved here, I was lucky to live with my aunt. I didn't live in the dorms in school. So I had the comfort of going back home and getting a home cooked meal, which is what I related with, like an African home cooked meal. But then my friends at school, when I would meet them the next day, they'd be like, "Man, yesterday I was so homesick. I wish I had some food." So a lot of times I would carry food from home and take it to them, and I would just see what joy it would bring to them, just having that homemade food. It made them feel like they were back home. So from that, I got a desire of just having something that would make people have an idea of what African food is like, and also those people who are away from home just feel like they're home too.
I noticed that quite a bit when I talk to people like yourself, open up like an African cuisine restaurant. Being authentic, part of that inspiration came from wanting this reconnection back to what home feels like.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were talking about where your mom would set up these, I guess be like an elaborate setting for two, you think she was doing that because she understood that you were going to be at some point or probably leaving for America and pursuing your education or living there, that she wanted to impart in you what she learned and how to make sure that you are fully embracing culture when you left?
I wouldn't say necessarily for America, but she was preparing me for the outside world. Like the way my mom raised me, she was very adamant with making sure I knew how to do my chores, and you're just not doing them to check the boxes, and you're doing them the right way, how to set up the food on the table. Like our staple in Kenya is ugali, and when you place ugali on the table, it's supposed to be at the center of the table. You wouldn't put it on the right or just on the left side. It had to be at the center of the table.
Why?
Because I guess it's the main dish. I don't know. So
ugali is like soup.
No, ugali is like fufu. So ugali is the cornmeal, is what we make with the cornmeal. So that had to be at the center of the table, and everything else that you're serving it with would go around it. So if I accidentally put it on one side, oh my God, that was big trouble. So, yeah, so she was really particular with teaching me stuff like that. And at that time, it didn't make sense. Of course, I'd be like, why is it a big deal to put ugali there? But now with what I'm doing, it really makes sense. Even when I'm training my staff, or even when I present food, people actually love it. And they're like, oh my God, Stacey, your layout is really great. And back then when my mom was making me learn this stuff, I just felt like she was being extra.
Okay, so I'm curious. Now, ugali, which is, it's called ugali in Kenya.
Yes.
But people normally know it as fufu.
Yes. So if I compare it to the West African dish, and of course fufu is very popular, it's so the ugali is the Kenyan swallow.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So now, why do you believe that ugali is to be served in the center of the table?
So now I believe it needs to be served in the center of the table because that is what is the main dish, and then everything else is the accompaniment that goes with it. So when you have it there in the center, like even you, if you're not familiar with the dishes and everything, because it's in the center, and then you'll get the greens and the soups around it, you'll be able to understand, oh, this presentation means this comes first, and then I serve everything else around it.
Oh, okay. So the idea is there's a main dish, and everything else supports that main dish.
Yes.
So if I'm sitting down, and let's say I don't know, and it's like, hey, you start with the ugali, and then you can taste whatever with it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. I had no idea, because I never thought that ugali was like a main course dish. Because to me in America, it's like cornbread or a side dish. Like the side dishes aren't typically a main dish. So I always thought that it was like a side dish option and something else was the main dish option.
Oh no, ugali is the main dish. And I'll tell you, like in a typical African home, a man expects to eat ugali for dinner. Like if you serve them rice or the chapati or the samosas or everything else, they'll give you that side eye like, where is food? This is not food. Is this appetizer and whatever? So like a typical African home is like ugali is really the main dish. And yeah.
Okay, so it's ugali in Kenya. It's called swallow in Nigeria.
Or fufu, yes.
Or fufu. Who makes the best?
Well, they're all different, but as you know, I'll tell you, Kenya is the best. So
I know that's been a debate, like who makes the best fufu or swallow ugali. Okay, so and now I'm really curious. So then what would be some signature dishes from Kenya?
Okay, so in Kenya, we have over 40 different tribes, right?
Okay.
So every tribe connects with a certain dish. So ugali is the staple for Kenya. Like every tribe in Kenya would eat ugali. But as I told you, I'm Luo. So I come from Nyanza, and we have Lake Victoria in Nyanza. So we eat a lot of fish. So fish is connected to the Luo tribe. Then we have Kikuyu, which is the largest ethnic tribe in Kenya. They have mokimo, which here I tell people it's like mashed potatoes. So you take potatoes and mash it with green peas and then with corn in it. So that's mokimo. They call it irio, which is for the Kikuyu tribe. And then we have pilau, which is really popular for 254. That one is really from the coastal part of the country because they had a lot of Arabic people living there. So that's why it has those tropical spices like the cardamom, the cumin, the black pepper in the pilau. So we're just depending with what tribe. Like my husband, Brian, is from Kisii. They grow a lot of green bananas. So matoke is their staple. So each tribe connects with a certain dish. So for Kenya, we have a lot. Like if I decided to cook all Kenyan dishes, I would not be able to keep up with it.
So what it sounds like to me, Kenya could be the equivalent of New Orleans in the United States.
Yes.
A lot of cultures, there's not particularly one thing. You could take probably a dish and say from that dish, whether it's gumbo or etouffee, there's some type of other cultural influence in that dish.
Yes, yes.
So cuisine in Kenya is, I don't know. So then how do you decide what do you want to eat when you know there's so many different type of cuisines to try? The 40 tribes, everyone has some. Makes sense now why ugali is the center of the table.
Yes. Yeah, because you'll have other dishes. Like if you attended a Kenyan party, even here locally, when, like, let me say, for example, like if someone contacted me to cater for their party and they're Kenyan, I would tell you, like, my basic menu contains pilau, which is rice. It has mokimo, which is from the Kikuyu tribe. It would have chapati, which is the flatbread. That one is just, and most tribes eat it. And then we would have beef or chicken. Then we would have spinach or cabbage. So even like when someone invites you for a party, it doesn't matter whether they're Kikuyu or Luo or Kisii or Kamba, our food is a wide variety. It wouldn't be focused in just one tribe. Like it's going to be hard for you to attend that party and with the food be able to determine what tribe that person comes from, because we do a wide variety of dishes.
So do you feel like that made it easier to cater when you came to America, because you're already thinking that this is the center of the dish and you have all these different tribes or type of cuisines in the offering? Like, did that make it did it make it easier to do catering?
Yeah, it does, because even growing up, I was already able to cook all these dishes. Just because I'm Luo, my mom didn't just cook fish and ugali, right? There are days we ate fish and ugali, and there are days we ate mokimo, and there are days we ate chapati and beans, and there are days we ate something different. So that already helped me learn a wide variety of different things.
You mentioned like different coastal regions or different parts of Kenya that are connected to different regions or other type of outside of different cultures. So do you think people assume that Kenya or Africa in general is not as inclusive, meaning that if it's Africa, it's only Africa? There's no idea of connection to Mediterranean or Arabic communities, or there's some other type of community, global connection in the countries?
Oh, yes. A lot of people assume that. First of all, a lot of people assume that Africa is just a country. Like when someone walks to Taste of Africa, the person will be like, oh, can I get fufu? I'm like, yes, I'm an African restaurant, but I'm not Nigerian. So we don't serve fufu, but I have ugali. Or now I explain to them, like, Africa is a continent. Then there's different countries. And we have north, south, east, and west. And all our cuisines are very different. Like, I'm from Kenya, and then we have Nigeria. Our food is very, very different. Like the West African, their food is very spicy. As we don't, like, we eat spicy food, but we serve the spice on the side. We don't cook our food spicy. Because I know a lot of people sometimes, like this season, we are doing the OU softball tournament. And a lot of people, when they see a Taste of Africa, they come and then they're asking, what is not spicy? I'm like, nothing is spicy. You can get the spice on the side, but we don't cook with the spice in the food.
So from a customer, when they get this idea of knowing that, like, hey, you don't have to worry about it being a hot or spicy food, we serve it on the side. What have you noticed has been the reaction for people when they realize, like, oh, it's not spicy, I can get it on the side?
A lot of people have been excited, and that has helped them explore a lot of things. So now when they get that, now they want to try everything and not just be scared because the food is spicy or anything, that they need to try just one thing. That really opens up their mind and makes them want to try almost everything. Okay.
All right. So let's get into some business questions, because I'm curious if cooking wasn't part of. I mean, you experienced it. Your mom cooked it. You came to Oklahoma City, and relatives cooked. And it didn't seem to be a part of your journey, because what you got a degree in and studied, it didn't. No, culinary school wasn't in there.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to open a? Well, you mentioned earlier, people wanted to try food, and so you were offering them food that you cook from home.
Yes.
But when did it become like, I want to try going into business? When did that start for you?
Okay, so while I was in school, or even after I finished school, when my friends had baby showers or birthday parties or graduation parties, or even just when we were hanging out, I would cook a lot of food. Like, I love to cook. I don't know how to cook like food in small portions. I think that's why I'm more of a caterer, because I love to cook and I love to just see people sit down and enjoy the food.
It's funny you describe that now, but when you were younger, you questioned why your mom had so much food.
Had so much food. So so now I would do that for my friends and just people around us, and they'd be like, oh, you should open a restaurant. You should open a restaurant. So after I finished school, I actually worked in the corporate world, because that is what I grew up wanting to do. I always wanted to dress up in my official outfit, go to work, come back home, and all that. So I had an experience of that for 7 years. I worked for Paycom for 7 years. Then when COVID happened and we went to working from home, I really did not like that. I'm a people's person.
Okay.
I don't like to wake up and I'm at home
Right.
and going to bed, I'm still at home. So I needed something different. And at that point, I told my husband, I think now I'm ready to do food as a business, but I don't want to do a restaurant. How about we try a food truck? Because I really love the idea of the food truck concept. Like I ate from a lot of different food trucks. So then we ventured into the food truck and it actually picked up and did so well.
What year was that?
We started our food truck in June of 2021.
Wait. So you started your mobile business as a food truck operator during COVID.
Yes, in June of 2021.
For most people, that is scary. Yeah. And you said, I'm going to start in the summer, which the summer is when people start to travel and move around.
Yes.
This is COVID. People aren't traveling and moving around. They're wearing masks. It's 6 feet distance. A lot of food trucks did not operate, but you decided to start a food truck.
Yes.
In the smack middle of COVID.
Yes. And why I did that again is because, as you say, there was the 6 feet distance. People didn't go to restaurants and stuff like that. So I was like, with the food truck, someone can stay in their car until they see the ordering window is clear, and then they come back and order their food. So I felt like COVID did not have a hindrance of that. And that was also just taking a step of faith, because I told my husband, if we can go through this session of COVID and survive it, then we can survive anything.
Okay. All right. So I'm wanting to how did you get to that mindset of like, you're not letting this health pandemic that became an economic pandemic stop you from doing it? Whether it's life experiences or how you think, or maybe career, college background that made you think, I'm still going to do it because I think it's something that you believe there's something you can do. Where did that mindset for you come from that said, I'm going to do it anyway?
So as I said, I had I kind of had a business background where I believe the higher the risk, the higher the profit. Okay. So you have to be able to take the risk. That doesn't always work all the time, that the higher the risk, the higher the profit, but you never know until you try it. Okay. Right. So I had the option of, like, with the food truck, I can come to you. If I feel like customers, like at the restaurant, if customers are not coming, you're going to close your doors and leave. But with the food truck, I was like, I can go to different places and find customers. I don't have to be at one place and let the customers find me. And I think that really helped us. And I'm glad that we started a food truck before we even opened the restaurant, because we were able to move around to a lot of people and let people know, hey, we are here and this is what we have to offer. And now they look for us. Like, we haven't been able to run our food truck consistently since the beginning of the year because we are so busy. And every single day people ask, where will the food truck be? Where will the food truck be? So, yes.
I love the way you use the food truck to go to people. Because what I've noticed with food trucks now, it's they want to go to a place and park and they're hoping people will come to them. That's not the industry of food trucks anymore. It's not 2012 to 2016-ish time frame. But you started off building up a base of customers, but you started with people who wanted to feel like they wanted a taste of home, right? So you provide them a taste of Africa.
Yes.
So then when you decided to name your business, why did you name it Plus254 Taste of Africa?
So Plus254 is the Kenyan area code. So I remember when we came up with the name in 2017. That is when I registered 254, when I didn't even have a food truck. I was cooking from my small kitchen in the apartment. But then I told my husband, I think we need to register this. And we sat down and he actually said, we should do Plus254. And I said, yes, that represents our area code. So that gives us the background that we are Kenyan, right? But then our slogan is a taste of Africa, which is, I did not want to stop with just Kenyan cuisine. I want to give people a variety of different African cuisine. So like now I took a class.
But that's like how it was for you growing up. There was a lot of different cuisines that were served at the same time.
Yes. So now with with Plus254, we are not only offering Kenyan food. I learned how to make Nigerian food, and I'm doing that. And recently in December, I went to Kenya for vacation, and I learned how to do Ethiopian food. So that will be coming soon. So I just want people, when they come to 254, they are able to have a tour of Africa.
So, okay. I now it now. I mean, you told me this, but now it really makes sense. What I've started to understand that, you know, your tribe is important. Your identity is important. Mm-hmm. So to have Plus254 as a part of your business, you're telling people who identify, people who are, maybe they're from Kenya or maybe they're from Africa. And for them, it's, I know they're Kenyan. Mm-hmm. And I know with Kenyan food, this is how it likely tastes. Mm-hmm. They have an understanding. So you're drawing into an existing base of people who are in Oklahoma. And to me, there isn't a large African population, especially in Oklahoma City, but people who are here know how to recognize you.
Yes.
For those who are not as familiar, it becomes a great educational opportunity. Yes. That Plus254 isn't just a number. Mm-hmm. They're from Kenya, and they serve a taste of Africa. Uh-huh. Yep. I think that's pretty genius. Uh-huh. Okay. So as you're going through COVID, the 2021 that you're starting off, things are going. How was it in those early days when you started the food truck in 2021?
Actually, I think it turned out to be very great. And I believe it's because our concept is very different. Like, we are not just like a taco truck or a burger truck or what people were used to. We were the first African food truck in Oklahoma City. Wow. So that made people excited. And you know, with COVID, there was nothing new coming up because all we did was wear masks, stay at home, schedule when you're going to the grocery store and everything. So this made people get so excited. I remember when we did our launch for the food truck, we did it at a park in Edmond, and in about 2 hours we were sold out. And
so people were you anticipating being sold out in 2 hours?
No. So because I knew people are still scared of coming out and everything, I was like, we don't need to make a lot of food because we are just starting. You're avoiding wastage and losing money. But yes, in 2 hours we were sold out, and we still had people waiting to get more.
So
food.
How did you let people know? So that's I'm glad you mentioned that, because you know you have a concept. You know, you prepare for what you prepare for, right?
Yes.
You don't want to lose money. You go to a park. You're in Edmond, North Oklahoma City area, and you sell out. What did you do to let people know where you were to become excited? New people, existing customers. What did you do to put yourself in a position to sell out today? When you're looking back, what steps did you take in marketing or branding, or what did you do?
So first of all, we used word of mouth. First, we used our friends to tell our friends that, hey, this is coming up, because the reason behind 254 is friends and people who surrounded us. They're the people who encouraged us. You guys should take that step and make this a business. You're great at making food, so now start making money from that. So those are the people we told first. And then we also use social media, because what were people doing? Scrolling on their phone.
Everybody's on the cell phone during that time.
Yes. So, and we also use social media. And that day it was just mind blowing to see all these people who didn't even know who I am, don't even know what African food is. And they were just coming to try it out for the first time in the middle of a pandemic. Like that day, people forgot about 6 feet distance, or there is a pandemic, I need to stay indoors. Yes. So it was an amazing day. And that day I felt like it motivated me, and every day I'm looking forward to keep pushing so that I don't disappoint those people who believed in Plus254, even when we were in the middle of a pandemic and businesses were closing their doors.
Yeah. I as you were talking about, you know, it's about like the people who encourage you to start. I'm going back to what you said about ugali at the center of the table. And I just this visual in my head of you have this main dish, and somebody from a different tribe or different region can still have a chance to sit and dine together. And that's the powerful part of food. And I even thinking about my own family. You know, my on my maternal side of the family, you know, we traced back my grandmother's heritage to Senegal. And so we're doing with our grandfathers, which we believe is West African. But how we dine together.
Yes.
I'm one of 47 grandkids, big family, big gatherings. And so for us, the main dish was the main dish, but the main dish didn't typically accent something else. So if it was turkey or brisket, it was like a potluck. None of it made sense.
Yes.
The potato salad, and you probably also had pasta salad. Nothing made sense. That's just how we did things. But to hear you describe, it's almost like there's a science or consideration to how you set the table in Kenya. Ugali being the center, and everything accents the ugali. So how did you carry, as a business owner, how do you carry that that attitude of we are wanting people to feel warm and receptive to trying our food, which allows them to understand Kenyan and African cuisine? How do you carry that forward as a business to get people excited about trying Plus254?
So what I do mainly is a lot of times I introduce new things. And I also, if you look at our menu has products that people relate with, right?
Okay.
Like pilau is a Kenyan dish, but if you look at it, pilau is rice. Everybody eats rice. Mexicans cook rice. Americans cook rice. We are just cooking it different. So I just make them get familiarized with the food because it's something they eat. We just make it differently. Look at masala fries. It is French fries. I just make a seasoning and put it on the fries and garnish it with onions and cilantro. But if you come and see masala fries, the fries part already makes you feel familiar with the menu. You know, like if you look at a samosa is a new word to you, but what is inside of it? Ground beef. That's what you eat on a hamburger. That's what you eat with spaghetti. So,
and it's kind of in a way similar to an empanada.
Empanada, yes.
That's interesting because you see now you really see the power of cultural and cultural influences in food. Because it does make a connection.
Yes.
So even if I have never tasted your menu before at all, and I saw it on a picture of it, and let's say I'm Spanish or from Mexico, and I saw it in my head, I might be able to make a connection to, is it similar to an empanada?
Yes.
Or is it similar to this? You can say yes. That makes sense.
Yeah, like even ugali, when people see it's made from cornmeal, they're like, oh, is this like cornbread? I'm like, yes, it's just that we cook it in water and on a stove and not just bake it, because cornbread you put it in the oven.
Okay, all right. I have so many questions about food because I'm hungry, but I wanted to stay in the lines of a few more questions about in terms of the business, because it seems that you started your business off, yes, through the food truck, but the restaurant and where it's located, like in a food court area, that your restaurant isn't based on the traditional model of having dine-in traffic. That you based your business surrounding your ability to cater primarily, but you're also available for dining options.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yes. So as I told you, I'm used to cooking food in large quantities. So I prefer to cater than serve a plate at a time. I prefer to just come in and cook a huge pot of rice, a huge pot of chicken, pack it up, and I'm done for the day. But at the end of the day, I have to consider the diversity of clients that we have. So yes, we have a food truck that can be out somewhere, right? Right now, we are in downtown Oklahoma City. After COVID, a lot of places shut down.
Right.
Then people are back to the offices. They still need to eat something, right?
Yeah.
So we found a location that works for that and works for us because we are open for partly breakfast and lunch. Then after that, as I said, because we are caterers, we need a lot of time to prep. Right. So once we close the restaurant at 2:30, that doesn't mean we are done with work. Like the other day when we had to make the 3,000 samosas. Actually, by Monday, we had a goal of having 5,000 samosas because we were at OU softball all weekend. Saturday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you know what we sell the most is samosas. So we had 4 days of softball and a 3,000
Wait.
order of samosas.
So how many samosas did you sell during softball?
So softball, it varies. On days that there's 2 games, we look at about 800 to 1,000.
Okay.
And then on days that it's just a single game, it's probably between 500 to 800.
But that's still a lot of volume compared to what I know a lot of food trucks or operators don't do.
Yes.
And here you are serving this amount of volume. And I think probably stereotypically people, when they hear African cuisines, they have an idea of what it is and don't try.
Yes.
But you're getting people to try the food.
Yes.
It's very, I would say very, it's really fascinating because you have found a way to get people to be curious about your food. And you're saying we are Kenyan, but we are introducing you to other cuisines. And you're thinking about how to add other African types of cuisines to your menu for them to try as well. Do you remember? Let's go back to the kickoff in the park. Can you remember some of the reactions from people after they tried the food?
Oh yes, like we have this customer that would always message us, and even she orders like our food to serve it at her house. Any party, anything she's hosted, she's typically American, but now her friends know when we go to her house, we are having African food. Because when she tasted it, she said she would never have thought to go find African food. And that's why I told you, my main goal is because of knowing what kind of food we have, we go find the people, we take it to the people, because it's very hard that someone will just sit and be like, someone who's not adventurous with food, today I want to try African food. But if you give it to them, they'll try it and they'll probably come back and get it. So that's why our goal is always to have the food truck out there. Because think about it, an African food truck at a softball game. So many myself, I've never sat and watched a softball game. I didn't even know what innings and all that is. But now we are out there. I'm learning something about softball. And even those people who love softball are getting to have a taste of Africa. And now it's bringing curiosity to them. They'll probably go and learn about Africa and now learn, oh, Africa is a continent that has several different countries. So they might go look for a Nigerian restaurant to try Nigerian food. Even if they don't try it from us, they'll go explore their taste buds by trying other different dishes.
And I was having some conversations with some young entrepreneurs doing the startups, and actually they were OU students. And I brought up, I said, you're on a campus that has probably about 20,000 people on campus in any given day.
Yes.
So why are you not going to, you should be going to the games or place where a lot of folks are congregated, because outside of the university environment, you don't have that much foot traffic possibility. Yes, you're in downtown, but you're in a basement in a food court. You don't have the same opportunity for foot traffic.
Yes.
But your mindset going into your business is, I'm going to bring the experience to you, which in turn, people then come and find you. I love that. Okay. So your business is based on the idea, I'm going to bring it, I'm going to find the customers, I'm going to bring it to you. So now we're 2024. And just for us, just for me, you participated in a lot of the campaigns that we have, and I'm definitely grateful for your participation in those things. And as you're going on, have you found that people are becoming to be more intentional in coming to you, even if they haven't tried you before? Are you starting to experience that now as a business?
Oh yes, like I can say, like with the campaign you recently ended, like the Black History Month, that one, yes, that one we had a lot of people who came for the first time, and again that helped put us out there, because they didn't know we existed. They never tried our food truck, never tried our food before, but the awareness that you created to make them know why we are here made them come out and try the food.
Okay.
Yes.
So then what's next? So you do a lot. Entrepreneur, wife, mom, food truck operator. You're learning more different cuisines. You're taking certifications. You have this. What was your degree in college?
Organizational leadership.
Organizational leadership. So you know how to lead people. You're training folks. The list goes on. You are a typical entrepreneur, right? Adventurous person. No, that's not the question I want to ask after saying all that. Now you have seasonings. What else are you trying to do? Like, So now you are bringing cuisine to people.
Mhm.
Now you're giving people a chance to taste your seasonings. Where did that come from?
So where that came from is from seeing people enjoy our food and everything. I want them to be able to learn how to make the food and make it at
Okay.
home, right? So that's why we have the cuisine, because the honest truth is someone is not gonna come buy food from me every single
That's true.
day.
That's true.
That's the truth. But do I want them to enjoy a taste of Africa every single day? Yes. So now I created the seasoning. I have pilau masala, which you can buy. Go to Walmart, get rice, and you can prepare pilau at home.
Okay.
I have our seasoning that we use on our chicken. I have tea masala that we use on our chai. So I want people to still be able to have that taste of Africa in their homes and by them creating it themselves.
Because I know it has to be difficult to source the things that you want in a landlocked state,
Yes.
right? And so you've had to find ways to source the things that you want, whether going to the, I guess, whether it's supermarketo or going to different restaurant depots to find what you want. But you still thought about like, well, even though you might be challenged in getting the exact ingredients or seasonings that you would like, you wanted to create a seasoning brand as another means to entice people to think about you.
Yes.
What do you believe having a seasoning brand for your restaurant is going to do for your business?
It's going to take our business to the next level, right? Because with the seasoning brand, I don't only have to put them here. What could be next is you can find them in the stores. And right now, when I launched them, I was selling them on Etsy. And trust me, I had people from Germany, someone from Uruguay ordered the seasoning. I was like, oh my goodness, now we are hitting the international borderline. So with the seasoning, it's taking the Plus254 Taste of Africa to the next level, which is international, because we do ship food. We do ship cooked food and everything. And I ship that internationally. I've shipped to UK, I've shipped to Canada before. So, but with the seasoning, that one I can go to even those countries that are very strict with you allowing you to ship cooked food. I can just ship the spices and the people in those countries can make their own food themselves.
Okay. Because the same experience for people who probably live in a different country, different continent, they also might have a challenge with finding food that tastes like home.
Yes.
But if they can get the seasonings from someone who was from home that understands what the seasonings are going to taste like, I'll get that.
Yes.
Okay, funny story, and we'll wrap this up here to say, I bought the puff puff recipe, the bag from Mama Z's in the supermarket. I bought it, made it. I think they came out good. A couple of them are probably undercooked, and but it was really sticky. I didn't realize how sticky it is. Because watching the video, so I'm making a puff puff, like they make it doughy and then they squeeze it, comes out the ball. I didn't do that. It didn't happen like that for me. I had oil on my hands. It did not work that way. But actually, when I tried it, made it, I was like, okay, I really felt like, even for me, just being born and raised in Oklahoma, being passionate about my heritage and history, I felt like I had a chance to have something that was from Africa in my home.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm really excited about how you're thinking about how to bring the taste of Africa to the world from a business mind, how you're doing that. A couple more questions, and because I get back to the restaurant, getting ready to open for lunch here in a moment. So someone's very new. They want to introduce a new concept to the market that people haven't typically tried. If I'm coming to you and I'm asking you questions like, hey, Stacey, I got this idea. I don't see many people doing it, or it doesn't exist. What are maybe 3 things that you would recommend they do to start off in their business?
Okay. The first thing I always tell them is start at the level you're in. If it means starting from cooking at your apartment, starting from getting a commercial kitchen, just start. the most important thing is to start. So put that idea out there. If you're thinking about it, guess what? Somebody else is thinking about it and somebody needs it. So just start from wherever you are, and then always anticipate to grow. Be creative with your idea, right? Your idea, like when I started, I was just cooking from my apartment. Then I started the food truck. Then I looked into catering. Then I looked into having the restaurant, and I still have a lot of things lined up, like a lot. So always be creative and focus on growth, right? It's not easy. You get a lot of loopholes and everything, but keep pushing no matter what. Keep pushing. I always say, provided I wake up in the morning and I have the breath of air, I will make that day work.
I love that.
Yes. So keep pushing. And then thirdly is, just as I said, keep pushing, never give up. Remember your why. Your why will always keep you going. Even on that day that a customer doesn't come your way, always remember why you started, because most of the time it's not always just about the money. There are days I don't make money, but I feel so fulfilled with what I do because I always remember the why. The why is to bring a taste of Africa to people, and it is eventually gonna get to everybody that it's meant to get to. So always remembering the why at the back of your head will always keep you pushing.
So I got 1, get started.
Yes.
2, be consistent or keep pushing, and then 3, remember your why.
Yes.
That's entrepreneurship, because it's not easy. It's hard. And then when you wrapped it up with your why was based on wanting to bring a taste of Africa out to people, and that comes up in different ways, through the food truck, through catering, through the seasoning brand, to shipping. We didn't even get to talk about shipping food, because that's also something unique that I've noticed in our African business and African businesses or restaurants in Oklahoma City is shipping food. Because that's something you have to understand how to do, shipping the right way, especially if it's crossing, domestic borders, going international. You have to understand that process. That's a whole other part of business. So how you're creating your business and being sustainable, you have different ways that you can have the potential to generate revenue, but also bring the flavors of your business to people.
Yes.
That may not be able to come to you. And now I really understand why you were not afraid to start your business during COVID.
Yep.
Because it seems as if you had an idea of how it was going to work. And you were not afraid to take the risk to make sure it worked the right way.
Yes.
Okay. I got so many more questions, but I know you have to get back to the restaurant and start your day. Stayce, I really appreciate you taking out the time to share more about your story and how the restaurant's operating. The fufu being the center of the table there's so much in business that comes to mind with that. And the fact that you're able to, even with softball quickly, it's not a typical cuisine you expect to have at an athletic event.
Nope.
It's typically like concession type food. You get nachos, burgers, things like that. But you gave people something different to try at a game.
Yep.
And food is not always fun and exciting at outdoor sporting events.
Yep. And they're very excited with that. And I'm glad that OU even considered that, because they also wanted to change their food story at their games. So they built a new stadium and they're like, it's softball season. We have a new stadium. What else can we bring that is different? Their concession stands still serve hot dogs, popcorns, nachos, but then they wanted to change the food story, and we are helping them change the food story. And those people are very, very excited about it.
We didn't even get a chance to get into, you are doing catering for very large companies, your former employer, you're at sporting events, you're on a college campus. I mean, OU softball is a legacy for being a championship team, having that opportunity, because it goes back to what you said. You are intentionally going to bring the taste of Africa to people, bringing it to people, not waiting on the opportunity to come. You're seizing the opportunity. I love it. I love it. Well, that's all I got. Well, it's not really all I got. I got more, but I'm going to stop. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the podcast. For those of you who are listening for the first time, make sure that you support a Taste of Africa. Oh, before we go, how do people find you and how can they support you?
Okay, so you can find us on Facebook, Instagram. We currently launched a website. So we are Plus254 A Taste of Africa. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and we also have a phone line you can call, and I'm always there to answer, or my husband sometimes. Feel free to reach out to us. And this 2024, we have a lot of exciting things for you in store to continue reaching you guys and bringing a taste of Africa.
I love it. So if you didn't get a chance to watch this full episode, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at Bigger Than Food on YouTube. You can see us on social media and follow us and support us. And do us a favor, like this episode, share it with your friends to get your Plus254 Taste of Africa online. But you also have a chance now to get it in person. Thank you for supporting the Bigger Than Food podcast. And also thank you for supporting Stacey at Plus254 Taste of Africa here in downtown Oklahoma City. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch more episodes